Hello. Thanks for coming in, everyone, and joining. We've got some few people coming in. If you want to start, you can tell us your name and where you're joining us from. City, state, country.
Hi, Dean. Good to see you. Oh, Dean is going to get some shout outs today.
Oh, I bet.
Awesome. All right. I think we're going to get started shortly. Oh, well, this is a problem. Hey, Robin, sharing is not turned on. There it
Welcome,
is.
Caroline.
Solved.
Got a really good topic for today. And I can share that we've been getting some good questions. So this is going to be very engaging for all of us. And it's always great to hear from all of you. So please don't be shy. You have your QA button there. You can ask your questions. We'll get to it. I know there's still some people joining. And just so you know, my name is Cynthia. I'm located in Austin, Texas. Normally, I'm sitting right next to Rina, but we thought maybe this would be too confusing, right? Having next to each other doing this webinar. Plus, we didn't want to confuse you if we start looking at each other. That would be, we don't quite
Does
yet
that
have.
happen, Cynthia? I mean, maybe.
We do in meetings. We're like, look, make eye contact, which is nice. Making eye
Yeah,
contact is great. But now I get to make eye contact with you through the screen. So.
great. And hi everyone, my name is Rina Alexin. I'm the CEO of Productside. I've been running the company now for is it 8 years? I might have lost the count.
Just
Yeah, and excited to be sharing with you some of my thoughts around the product builder and the builder PM. Yeah, we have a pretty good webinar for you today. Excited.
perfect. Yes, and we have Robin behind the scenes keeping it going for all of us. So thanks, Robin. She'll go ahead and be chatting up things as well on the chat. All right. Well, what's the subject today? Should we, before we get in there, a little bit about us, who we are. We have been around, so Rena says running the company for 8 years, but we have been around for many, many years, and we work hard to deliver products and teaching people not only to deliver products that they use, but that they truly love. So whether that's getting your stakeholders aligned, understanding your customer needs, and managing the endless backlog, we've seen it all, and we're here for you, your true partner in product. And we believe in outcome-driven partnership and in product solutions, providing solutions for you. So what does this mean? It's the complete solutions for transformation from strategy to execution. We're with you each step of the way. We have our tailored expertise that those challenges that you have, they're unique. We listen to you and we provide those solutions for you and our invested experts. So consider us an extension of your team, someone to lean on to hear. We obsess over your success. We're very happy to have you here. It's a fantastic topic. But before we get there, just some quick things. Will you have access to this webinar later? Yes, it is being recorded and it will be shared with all of you. Previously mentioned, we have the Q&A feature. Feel free to click that, ask those questions. We will be monitoring them so we can ask those questions as we're going through the content. And don't forget the chat's there. Keep in touch with us. There's a little bit more coming up, but we want to go. How do you stay in touch with us a little later? We have our LinkedIn group, and we love to connect with our community. So this is where other like-minded people are there for you. You can chat, ask questions. You'll see some best practices posted. We are very engaged with our community and know that even people post opportunities. So click on that QR link. You can look for us now. And some of us are joining us from LinkedIn Live. So hi to all the folks on LinkedIn. And with that, I think we can get going.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. And everyone, really, please ask your questions. Cynthia mentioned it, but if you're joining us now, please pop into the chat, just say your name, where you're calling in from. We find that the more engagement there is from all of you, the more valuable this webinar really becomes, similar to our training sessions. So what are we doing today? My goal, I have a few goals. First, I want to help define the builder product manager or the product engineer or whatever other term is being thrown around online. We're also then going to talk about what it really takes to build and more importantly, how to create leverage. So this webinar is really going to be split into more like two parts, but like always, we're going to leave you with a few things for you to do after this webinar is done. Now, I do want to bring it up right here. Okay, so if you were expecting more anxiety, more things to do, more here's your 10 Claude skills you need to know now or yesterday, or you're not going to succeed, this isn't that webinar. My goal is actually to cut down that noise, to make it more tangible and more real. But I do want to mention it, right? So the builder PM, this sometimes I'm hearing it talked about like this mythical creature, this unicorn of a person who can solve the CFO's problem of headcount, because somehow that can be a problem. They can do product, they can do UX, they understand the market, they know how to build the solution, they can shape it. This person, this three jobs, one salary person, while we did talk about compression of roles in our previous webinar, I am not insisting or insinuating that this unicorn is what we're trying to get towards. This is not a promotion. And the more I talk with leadership, the less I think this is what people are starting to think the future is for product management and engineering and design. Even though, again, there is some overlap and AI has a role. So, what are we doing here? Well, it is true that AI has collapsed the cost of building. And so it does make sense to ask, well, how does this change our roles? Are we supposed to be moving faster? Or do I still need the same types of people on my team? And what are really the expectations that leadership should have of us? So that's what we're here to try to think through. And at Productside, we think a lot about roles, and we want to be a partner, I think, to the product community to help understand what are people trying, what's working, and what is not. Because this is the storming, experimenting phase as people start to adopt this new technology. And I'm starting to think that the question isn't and should not be, how do I, as a product manager, take over engineering now that I can work with an AI coding tool? But rather, the question should really be, how do I embrace AI and help it make me a 3x, 5x, or even 10x product manager? Because when AI collapses the cost of building, it just goes to say that AI has also collapsed the cost of learning. And I think the product manager who learns how to use AI to learn faster, that's the person that's really going to win. And that's my goal today. So here's our first poll, and this helps me also get a lay of the land on just understanding how is AI changing your role today. So I think the poll is launched. Cynthia, if you want to go
Yes,
through these.
it
Yeah.
is. It is launched. So how do you work with AI and AI agents today? So when you use AI tools, you notice when output is bad and it can fix it case by case. Your workflows have defined success criteria, which you use to improve the system. You have feedback loops that improve the system automatically, or you're not quite there yet. And I want to emphasize there's no right or wrong answer. right? You're here showing up for yourself so that you can learn and apply things. And as Rena said, the goal is to quiet the noise. So hopefully you have those Slack and chat notifications from work paused, or hopefully you can pause them so you can be present.
If anyone figures it out, let me know. No matter how many times I silence notifications, they keep coming
Don't
back.
worry, there's your
Yeah.
computer, there's your phone,
Yeah.
there's your doorbell or an office door. Um, yeah,
So so fantastic. So Robin, Robin, by the way, is our wonderful. I will be giving a few shout outs to Robin, but she's our wonderful designer and helping us today with our webinar. For some reason, I am not seeing the answers. Cynthia, are you?
I am not seeing the answers. I do see the poll.
Okay. Well, in that case, Robin, can you share? Okay,
Oh, there we
fantastic.
go.
So, great. This is awesome. So it looks like 58% use AI tools. And I guess the many, there's only one of you, by the way, it's okay to be not there yet and not started. I have words to say, many words to say for you. And I see that, nobody has answered that feedback loops improve the system automatically. So I think this is perfect. I'm glad to see this come up because this is exactly what this webinar was built to help with. Okay, so I started talking about the change, but I'm going to move into actually really defining what has changed and really what hasn't. So bear with me. This slide has a lot of text, so I'm sure if you're on your phone and just listening in, I'm going to go through it. But if you want to take a minute, please feel free to read it. Okay, so here is what I'm positing that a product builder is a 10x product manager. It's somebody who has understood how AI can really enable them and also does not let go of what is really core and valuable about product management. Because I think 6 months ago when I was talking to leadership about role compression, there was a lot more voices talking about, yeah, I want to see product managers build. And there are companies trialing with, I've heard this term like product engineer, of really trying to find somebody who can navigate both aspects of product development. So the what do we want to build and how do we build it right? Like both sides of that equation. But now when I talk to leadership, the ones who have tried identify there are some real negatives associated with trying to find this unicorn. So I'm going to call those out, a couple of them. First of all, is that you lose something very real when you have one person responsible for the whole thing. And there are some real skill sets, obviously, for product, for designers. Like I cannot do what Robin does at all, like at all. And that's a good thing. That's why diverse teams with diverse backgrounds and skill sets tend to perform better. They are coming at problems with different perspectives. They're stress testing different ideas. And when you remove that and you bring AI in, which is not a creative thinker, uh, it does it can create suboptimal outcomes just from the lack of people interacting and stress testing their thinking. Uh, in addition, it is not. I keep saying unicorn. I mean, it is a unicorn. It's not just rare to find somebody that already has these three different skill sets. I think it's even rare to find somebody who wants them. So think
Mhm.
about it, right? Like a literal product designer engineer. How many of those have you met across your career? Now, I have met a few product managers who have those kinds of backgrounds. So they do exist, but very rarely do you have an engineer who really, really loves engineering. And and I even have a case of like
Does
talking to a
discovery?
leader. Sorry. Yeah, I talked to a
Just
leader who
discovery.
had an engineer on their team who's got really excited about this concept of becoming a product engineer because they see it as a promotion. But then once they found out that they need to, talk to customers, drive business outcomes, all of it, they're like, this is not for me. And similar, I mean, designers do beautiful things. Robin is incredible. Uh, Now, and she can do this, but some designers, if you go and you ask them also for a business case, they might pause. So this idea of one person doing it all, I don't think is where we're going to end up. I think more and more, though, leadership is expecting more from people. So getting better at the core of what your job is means really understanding how you're bringing value to that organization. And that is why I actually think the builder PM, the value they bring to the organization is this learning concept of really understanding what to build, why, and getting a lot more high definition evidence for why their decision is the right one. So, what doesn't change? Deciding what to build and why. Voice of customer discovery does not change. Prioritization, I think, gets harder in this world. I'm going to say that a few times. You might hear me
Yeah.
repeat a few concepts here, but outcomes, driving to why we're doing it, why it's valuable for your user, why it's valuable for the business. That does not change. What is changing, though, is in how we interact with our data, how we interact with various agents that we can build to help us with our work and with our decision making. And I also think the failure mode can change. So we're going to talk about proof of concept versus a PRD in the next slide. So I'll save that. But failure mode, and I have thought about this, is that a lot of the changes here have to do with the solution space. So yes, a proof of concept has a lot more value, or can have a lot more value, can have some risks around underlying assumptions you might not be testing, but it can have more value and it can speed up the product development cycle. However, it does mean that you are spending some of more of your time in the solution space. And so strategy, problem space thinking can suffer. And I think those are going to be more important as failure mode. I wanted to put together just a high level flow chart. I'll call it that. It's not really because number four is I mean, I guess it's technically an action, but it's something I think that we can talk to a little bit more visually with regards to what does a product development 4.0 like AI cycle look like. So a lot of it again still, and if I'm a product leader, I need to start thinking about like how do I augment these different steps with AI and where do AI agents fit in? But core fundamentals, I do think some of it does stay the same, like signals in. Market users, data, like data from your support team, your sales team, those are uh, things that come inbound. You can also find them proactively looking through data. So where it can get augmented is in having agents really analyze different patterns, user behavior a lot faster, create insights. But signals still are very important. They remain kind of in the way the same. Number two, I probably should have named it something other than
I
cheap
was like, it's
tests.
not cheap test, economically priced test.
The point here is that, and this is the step that I'm asking everybody not to skip, and that is the validation step around validating a problem is real before you even make any steps on even developing a POC. Yes, Dean, thank you. Tiny acts of discovery. So I think a lot of this, by the way, remains the same. I think you still need to be in front of your customers. I think you still need to be doing voice of the customer research and really proving out that whatever insight you're getting is actually real and that it's painful and people really want you to solve it. Now, proof of concept is where it changes. Right here, we go into solutioning and we start defining what that solution could look like. That's where lo-fi experimentation has been the way to do it, right? You create a wireframe, a storyboard, you think of it as a concept. Now you can work with coding agents to actually develop what that could look like and feel like and be clickable. And it's a lot more usually further on in the development cycle before. But now, again, with the cost of building being cheaper, this is something that you can do. Now, I did mention, I'm going to mention it again. There are risks to this of going deep into solution space without understanding the problem. And when you present workable prototypes in front of people, there are already assumptions baked into how people use them. So, however, I do want to acknowledge that this is more and more the expectation of what product managers will be doing, working with
And to
agents to build POCs.
Yeah, and then too, it's someone else's point. Someone like the hallucination factor that comes in with AI, which I think you're going to come into it later.
Um, yes, we're going to talk about feedback loops and evaluations and criteria. Yeah, do not. Since you brought it up right now, I think that is a an issue. Actually, let me save that because I want to continue the story arc first. So, what you hand off and who you hand off to can change as well with this PM Development 4.0. And that has to do with in some instances, with especially with some teams, that the product manager may still just be handing off to other coding agents. So ones that actually are working within code base. Um, in terms of development cycle, this is very simplified, but I do want to point out that organizations that are using coding agents, they have multiple gates and multiple types of agents that they do build to accelerate the development cycle. There usually is a coding agent. There's also usually a review agent. So I put those up. But essentially, the concept here is that there are multiple stages and gates that are being reviewed with AI. And so when you hear people say, oh, our new code is 90% AI, this is kind of what they mean. Now, all of those companies still have an engineer doing the final pull request, reviewing for the code for quality, for security. And this is an important point here of why I think companies are leveraging more. If they're trying to compress those two roles, they're going and doing engineering first, is because there are true risks around security that as a product person without an engineering background, you do not know what questions to ask or how to, they're just items that I think in general business people don't have that experience with that engineering do. And so the security layer really, I think, is really important. And I think there are so many examples of, I have an example, a story I know with a team that wanted to put out an MCP, so like a connection with Claude, pretty quickly, and they accidentally and unintentionally revealed their entire code base through this integration. So security is not a joke, and so that is why having very high expertise with engineering and keeping that human engineer in the loop is very, very important before you ship. One more point on this is that on the bottom here, you see there are elements that product managers own, engineering can own more on the development side. That I think is, what happens today or even before. But what I do want to make a point here is that everybody owns improving the system. So there are various ways where AI should be, put into this workflow to speed things up, to pressure test thinking as well. So product managers and engineers, I think it's a new type of relationship where you understand this is a system and you find ways to work together to continuously improve it. So that is what the best product development teams are actually doing, working on the system. And we're going to talk about that more later. Cynthia, did you want to talk about hallucination now? Is that why you brought that in?
Well, because we're talking about the dev cycle, right? You talked about the reviews, but I think again, we can point it out later.
Okay, so since we talked about it and I don't like things hanging, it's important to note that yes, AI does hallucinate. So it can be from all the way from just pointing out insights that aren't real. we had a team member do research on an account and it made up a person at a company that doesn't exist, right? So this happens all the time. And so success criteria are very, very important. Evaluating the output with evals, which is listed here in number 4. All of that is very important because general LLMs have about a 60% accuracy rate. It's actually a lot lower than people know or assume. And so absolutely you have to you get better the more you train your models. And that's why feedback loops are so, so important. So we'll talk about those as well. But in terms of this role, I do want to bring up, even if it is not the mandate to suddenly be 3 different people, you are doing more work. Like it always will feel that way. I don't know about you, Cynthia. Have you ever felt a period of your career where you're doing less work, or does it always feel like you're doing more?
No, congratulations, everyone. We get more work.
Yes, you get more work. Okay, but that's good. You add more value, right?
Yeah.
So I do want to point out that in it's like the never-ending problem with product is trying to really organize your time well so that you are focused on the right things. And with regards to AI, you are able to work on more problems. So there is an increase in speed. We are seeing this. I've heard various product leaders, chief technology officers talk about the increase in productivity. They're shipping a lot more faster because of the higher definition of problems with POCs and also the development cycle being taken over by coding agents. They are working faster, but that means you're probably switching your context much more often. And it's not obvious, but that does carry mental load. And everybody has to figure out their own path to making sure they are aware of it. They're not burning out because if you burn out, you're going to go a lot slower. So for me, lunchtime walks outside, whatever, meditation, whatever works for you, just know that there is more context switching. I'm experiencing it. Most people working with AI are experiencing it. And discovery, I'm just repeating this over and over throughout this webinar. Please protect your discovery time. Make sure do not skip that number 2 validation step with validating that problem is worth solving. This mode can feel much more execution heavy. And so being the person really understanding the value of discovery, the value of being able to say no, especially when in the last point here, prioritization and saying no start being very important because there's so much more pressure to say yes to everything. If you're not doing the discovery, you're going to be in this negative loop of not knowing exactly why. And that's your core mandate is to protect the decision making around why you're doing something so that you don't end up in a poor user experience, which will happen if you end up saying yes to everything. There's feature bloat. There are real costs to saying yes to everything, even if the cost of building appears to be low, there are actual real costs, and your stakeholders will not really understand it until it's too late. So that's your job, is to protect the future of your product, and you do that with protecting your discovery time. You'll rarely ever hear me say increase meetings on your calendar, but if you are in a situation where you are seeing fewer interactions with your designer and engineering counterparts as a result of working with more agents, I do recommend including some more sync meetings to pressure test ideas. And they could be Slack huddles, like it doesn't have to be super formal. But I do want to call that out that if you're losing too much of that, that friction might actually be better to add back into your day.
And I want to add something. This is what I heard too, is that while you're getting the system going, some of these meetings might be necessary, to Rena's point, getting a Slack huddle on the collaboration, because maybe there was a team that's like, I've never talked to product about this. Why am I hearing from you? Because you're getting that discovery and you're getting that point to build the system. So at the start, you might have a little bit more communication and showing the why and the value that it's going to make things smoother later and less meetings.
So I'm going to go through pretty quickly on what we want to do about it because we just talked about what's changing, realities. So what do you want to do? Is kind of the name of our game, right? We don't want to just talk about it. So before I get started, there's our second poll, which is how far up the build it yourself ladder are you? And again, if you haven't started, that's okay. I have some guidelines for you coming up right after this poll. So, Robin, do you mind launching the poll?
Thanks,
Fantastic.
Robin, for putting this up. So, how far have you built it yourself ladder? You haven't started. You played with a no code AI builder. You're using real development tooling, and you are maybe shipping AI assisted code to production. So, just take a quick few seconds and answer that. The only wrong answer is not answering, okay? Just keeping it real here.
All right, Robin, since we don't see the early answers, let's just share. Okay, a lot haven't started. Perfectly fine. I'm glad to see some of you have, and even one person is shipping AI assisted code to production. Amazing. So, we're going to talk about this is going to be relevant for everybody, but for those of you who have started, that's fantastic. You're a little bit ahead. But guess what? If you haven't started, you know what I find very fun and interesting about AI? I find that the best advice I could give you is what, the Nike slogan, it's just do it. Because
Mhm.
AI, while there is a steep learning curve, it kind of helps you climb it. And the best way is just to start. You'd be, I mean, when I first used Claude Code, like my mind was blown. It really was. I had no idea. And it helped me so much. It saved our company money on various items that I could do using Claude Code and MCP connectors with some of our software. So it's amazing. And you can just ask it and it will teach you and it will show you, like ask it to show its thinking and why it did something. And it's the ultimate skill set is asking questions and prompting well. But definitely start with something simple like Lovable is the easy example to kind of go to. When it first came out, I saw a lot of different people just trying something to solve for themselves. Like I'll call out my husband, like he built an app within like 2 hours that you could one of those you take a picture of your food and tells you the nutrition of your food, something simple. And the whole point is not that he needed that, it's that he wanted to learn what these tools are capable of. And that's your first job when you're learning. It's new. It can feel scary, but really it's a lot less scary once you dive in. So I have a homework for all of you who said you haven't started. 1 hour. That's it. 1 hour on your calendar within the next 2 weeks. Report back to me. Connect with me on LinkedIn and tell me how you did and how easy it was. You will surprise yourself. The tier two, and I put Claude Code here, but really there's various coding agents that you can use, and Cursor is the tier two, like an IDE. Now, the Lovable is easy because it basically sets everything up in its environment. You have a coding agent, you have front end, back end, so you can actually see what you are asking it to produce right there. One of our team members, Tom, actually used Lovable for building out the scheduling and logistics tool used at Austin P Camp. That was really fun. It took him, a few hours to do, and it worked so much better than their previous solution. So you could be surprised at what you can do. But again, there are other things that you will need to learn as you go further and further into how can AI help me be a better product manager? How can AI help me learn? So obviously, learning to build is really about learning to build to learn, and that has to do with why I put vibe prototyping first. Um, By prototyping, more than just building something, is building something to test an assumption. So when we are talking about that early stage, like creating proof of concept, you're really trying to create early prototypes. And that is, I would say, its own kind of skill. Uh, in addition, I think if you've never used GitHub, like me from a year ago, like I'll be honest, you do need to understand it before you do something like me. That might not be exactly right. So use AI here as well. You can learn some engineering vocabulary, what are branches, repositories, like all of this. So have AI teach you, but this is, I think, going to be really important. And I have seen various product leaders say that like they've stood up GitHubs for their company, and then marketing departments joined in, right? So this is now becoming less an engineering kind of engineering tool and more for everybody. Agentic workflows, as part of this, I mentioned there are various ways agents can really assist in the product management and product development process. And so, if you are going to really embrace AI, you might want to learn how to build these properly. So, how to design them, how to think about them, how to test their output. Again, that's the evaluations and feedback loops. So similar to evaluations, but going almost like a step further of like actually building those into your process and system and into your agent. Actually, within feedback loops. Oh no, I'm going to say that. I want to, Cynthia, I don't know if you want to tell that story about that company, but let's do it when we talk about system building because this is
Sure.
related.
But first of all, someone was asking, like, what
Mhm.
is the must use AI tool as a PM? Because we talked about homework, but if there's one that stands out for people listening in, what is there
Like
one
an
that comes
AI
to mind?
tool. I try,
Mhm.
I try to be pretty tool agnostic here.
I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it also depends on what kind of product you're working on.
Sure.
Before I put that product development stage, like that process or like workflow, rather, I think if you're working with a physical product, you might want to test out more like AI simulations. But if it's just going to be one tool and I only have one, I would personally lean towards something like Claude. Dean put the one that helps you get the job done the way you work. I mean, that's fair. Uh, and if you're just trying to see how do I build things, then the one I kind of mentioned, Lovable, is probably easiest to kind of do. But I guess it really also depends on the context of your job. Like some companies
Sure.
we know are very specific about what AI tools are allowed.
And that's what I was
Yeah.
going to talk to this the security aspect, right? We're talking about in your everyday work, one, check to see what tools are approved for you. On your own learning at home, I would say do the homework Rena's talking about. So, and then have those conversations too. It's okay to ask around and what your peers are using. And one team might be using something different than the other team. And maybe your organization doesn't even have one whole system set up because guess what? We're in it right now. It's being put together.
Thank you, Cynthia. So I put security awareness on this because I think, again, just kind of going back to different types of security awareness for your product, again, I think product people will become better partners to their engineers the more they learn about where those risks could be. I'm not saying that they should take over that role. But if you are starting and you're like, this list is overwhelming, guess what? We do actually teach just almost all of this in in our AI class, and Dean has been chiming in. He's wonderful. He's actually co-author of our AI product management class. He is very passionate about this, and another homework to do is go follow him and his
Substack.
blog. Yeah, it's really, really good. So it's teaching at the, I think coming up in July and again in September. So that is something to do. But also, if you're like, hey, that's too much, but I want to stay in the loop, we actually at Productside have a great test and learn program where it's essentially our like alpha and beta users. So you get to actually try out various content and various skill sets that we put into our test and learn program. That's how we test our material. That's how we get better as a company. And you get it, you get access to AI skills for free. So thank you, Robin. She's already posted our form in chat. Okay, there's a couple more do's that I need to get through before we can go into questions. I'm cognizant of time, so I'll try to go as quickly as I can. I kind of brought this up in a few different ways, but engineers remain critical. I don't want people to start thinking engineers are going to take over my job because, again, I don't think they want to. But there is still a division of labor here that I think is better when we work better together in general. So I think product managers, if you see in your organization there is more of an emphasis on a product engineer, so there are situations where companies may look to their engineering team to start taking on more product work, then I encourage you to stay closer and closer to the customer because the big thing that when you are in solution space, because engineers really are in the developing the solution, the valuable piece is knowing what should get built. And the only way to do that is to stay close to your customers. So continue validating problems, even if they are engineers are more and more in your organization selecting what to actually build. Uh, I also want to talk about improving the system. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move to that one. And so we're going to launch our last poll here. So Robin, thank you so much.
So how is AI changing the PM role? And
Oh,
it disappeared. But we have, right, the use of AI tools, notice when output is bad and fix it case by case. And your workflows have defined success. Oh, here we go. That's poll number one. You know what? We have it on the slide. Everyone can just type it in also. Just you can secret ballot. I'm so sorry, not secret ballot, because we will see your name if you
here
type
it
in
is. No, no, she got it.
the chat.
No, yep.
So how do you work with AI and AI agents today? So we have your selections here. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. We just really look forward to your responses because there's some good content coming up. And I know we're short on time. So poll number 3 is up and I see it up. Do you see it up, Rina?
Yeah, no, that's okay. But I think we can move on and I'll just go through content. I'm sorry for the glitches on our polls today, but that's okay. Thank you so much for perfect for participating. So in terms of so this is something that I have started to hear more, and I think we're going to hear more and more of this. This idea of systems thinkers. I think people have been saying that, but let me just like try to demystify things because I think that one of the issues with thought leadership out in the ether is sometimes we say words or like people say words that sound good, but what does it really mean to be a systems thinker? It's about thinking across multiple steps at the same time. Okay, that's the easiest way for me to explain it. And the reason why people are talking about systems thinkers is because when we're working across various roles and the complexity of product management and product development, you really have to be thinking across all of the different steps. And when there is AI and automation in a system, if you're not thinking about it, if you're just thinking about it from like one single use case, you're going to miss the boat on how to actually create leverage for yourself. So this is where I kind of want to bring up that example of like why we mentioned like feedback loops so often. And I think because they're so critical, we're talking about learning. Um, we're talking about learning and AI can also learn. It gets better the more it learns. And so smart product people are actually inserting ways for the AI to get better right within the system. So, Cynthia, I'm happy to share that example. I know you talked to the team. Do you want me to share it or do you want to share it?
Go ahead and kick it off because
Perfect.
I have a few and
So,
I don't want to say one that it's not it.
no, no, that's okay. So we talked with a fintech team, and
Mhm.
I'm just sharing an example of what they did with their product, but you could think about it as also having parallels for working within if you think about your product management process as a product, gosh, man, everything is always meta in product management. So what they did is they wanted to enable their users to work with an AI to get their reports because the reporting feature, when anybody's who's ever worked with a finance kind of SaaS tool, reporting features are fairly limited. Like they give you filters, they give you options, but you're kind of limited on what you're able to see based on whatever they're able to build into that UI. So what they wanted to do was see if they could develop an AI solution for reporting by using a language, like asking an AI CFO questions about their financial data and then receiving reporting on it, which is, I think, again, a much better use of and something that AI as a technology really does help enable. But the issue is what I had kind of mentioned earlier is that LLMs untrained, they have not the highest accuracy. Like it's actually surprising to me because we kind of almost approach a lot of the outputs with assuming that there's accuracy. But Cynthia, even today, I had a one-on-one with a team member with an AI report, and I pointed out like wrong, 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 right? So we have to check these things. And what this team realized was because the output was not always right, all they did, and this was really smart, was add a was this correct question at the end of their AI output. And they had their users now correcting and training the AI so
Mhm.
that it's right within the system. It's not like a separate bubble. It's not a separate quiz that you take afterwards. It's right there in front of you, and you're more likely to answer it. And similar, when you think about the system and the agents that you work with, think about adding feedback loops in a way that is more natural and in the workflow. That's what I'm asking for product managers to start thinking about because I think if you just in that on in the left side where we said like you have to watch what breaks and aims at business outcomes, I think it's even smarter to have an AI learn what breaks right in the flow. That is what's going to create I think a better outcome faster for you, where if you're just you know doing your role and yes you're still validating and that a problem is worth solving, you can do more things, but if you get the system to be smarter, I think that's what product leaders are starting to see as being very valuable in their organization. So if we're talking about unicorns, be that kind of unicorn instead of the other one, which is now you have 3 or 4 different skill sets in your mind. This is the one to really invest in. Finally, the do for. I think it's so important. And by the way, I did in building this webinar, I checked with product leaders, and this is the one they really like. I thought, is this too obvious, right? But it's just so critical. Uh, this is still what you get hired to do. Discovery, having a deep understanding of your customer, your market, your business. Um, the should we build it decision is still something that is core to product. And the more we go faster, the more we go into solution mode, um, the more this can suffer. And this is what creates a negative cycle. If you don't really have a good understanding of what are you doing to drive business outcomes or why your customer cares about it, then you don't have an ability to really say no, even to executive leadership who are asking you to build things. You don't have the evidence to push back. And do not skip this validation steps. Please do not. Because if you do, you might end up in a situation where even if you're moving faster, you're going to be moving faster in the wrong direction. And that is the thing that we really want people to prevent. So as you start using Lovable, Claude Code, whatever you do, just remember that your core job is still this. This is your job. You still own these things. And I find that liberating because this is what you were hired for. So that has not changed. Okay. So that's what we walked through today. How to essentially, it's less about just how do I start with Lovable, because again, I don't want to teach that since I actually think it's quite easy. You just need to do it. But how do you actually 10x your career? How do you 10x with AI? You do build those skills. I think you understand roles, and we talked about roles of engineering, but also your own role. Like what is valuable? How do you create value for your business? You remain extremely strategic, and uh, like even with fast-moving startups, their expectations of product is roadmap. Even if their roadmap might be, in some cases like very short because they move very quickly. That is what they want product managers focused on, is really understanding what to do next and why, and building up that case. And then create leverage, really understand that you're working in a system, understand the different steps of the system. And if you're a product leader, that, it's not just your product managers. I think product leaders need to, like what we do at Productside is we think about the blueprint, which is behind me, basically the framework of how to do product management. And we think, where does AI belong? Across each of these phases and activities, where does AI produce leverage? Where is it dangerous? Where does it produce where does hallucination really create risk for my organization? And then how do we create these like really strong practices and feedback loops so that we are building a great system that's producing great outcomes? That's how you 10x with AI. And judgment is still the job. So important that I wanted to end with it. All right, so we have some time to go to questions. But before we do, we just have a couple more slides and then we'll go into Q. Actually, should we just do Q&A now?
Why not?
Okay, we'll do Q&A and then we'll go back to a couple more slides at the end.
Okay. So we talked a lot about, I have a question here. We talked a lot about how product managers are sitting in this seat, right? You have the discovery design and then you have our business outcomes. How do you see the PM practice changing to manage the increased engineering velocity? And then you talked a lot, but is there like a good summary point that you could give to this question?
So it's that there are more expectations. I think again, what the expectations are is to really know how to leverage AI in your role. Like that is what we're kind of talking about here. There are ways to build agents for some of the hard skills, and like analytical skills, some of the design skills. That's what I think a lot of companies are trying to test with. And it's really the soft skills that are going to be, I think, what or stay very, very important in order to take advantage of what AI can really bring to your job. So, was the question like, what do you need to learn, or is it like time management?
I think it's not specific, so it's very general. It's the PM practice changing to how is the PM practice changing to manage this increased engineering velocity across all of the
Oh,
functions?
yeah. Okay. So a couple things. So one is I kind of showed how product managers are going to help speed up product development. And part of that is I think part of that is in what we do on the in the left side. So like in the blue circle, if you guys are familiar with the product side blueprint. So it's really understanding your market, your users. That stuff remains the same, and that helps you. Now with AI, you can leverage AI to do discovery faster. We actually have a whole webinar. Kenny kind of talked about various ways that AI can help you move faster in discovery. But it still does take time. And that is something that I think companies are starting to grapple with around it takes time to validate that these are problems worth solving. And so
Hmm.
making sure that if product development is speeding up, that you are making sure you have internally set up systems that help you do that work faster. I think what slows a lot of people down is when they don't have a good way to source customer interviews, just source like feedback from their user base. And I think a lot of the companies that are moving faster know how to do that very well. They have communities, they've built communities to help the community answer questions, but also to help themselves do the discovery and the market research. And so I think, and that's not AI, that's just something that you need to be mindful of as things kind of speed up is what is like almost like a factory process, like where is the time, where are the real roadblocks so that you could solve for them? They might not be solvable with AI.
Another one came in as what should be the main focus for a chief product officer?
Yeah, okay. So I kind of said a little bit about how we think about AI from a product management standpoint. I would, if I was a chief product officer, I would be grappling with where does AI fit? How do I want my team members using it? So it could be like which tools, it could be just basic like practices that they want to install. And it's also maintaining that high bar. So I kind of mentioned like today I had a one-on-one, I'm not calling anyone out, it happens, all right? Like where there is AI output presented to me that was false, like clearly false. So you need to also figure out how to maintain a high bar so that that does not happen. So that will not happen again. So I think chief product officers need to understand where does AI fit, where is leverage, and then the risks of keeping a high bar and also understanding the risks of people using AI outputs without checking. I think that is pretty important too.
The human element is not
Mhm.
ever going to go away.
No.
We
Yeah.
welcome more questions. Otherwise, I know there's just to share this will be the recording will be shared with all of you. Take some time, the personal notes on what it is that you um, are going to focus on for your own personal learning, and also have those conversations with other team members. You know, what are they using? Does your organization have something as far as the tool that is, let's say, sponsored, right, for everyone to use? Because every organization is different, and also every individual is different. Play around with the free stuff that is out there.
In the meantime, we did run a study on the state of AI. And so there's going to be a link here. You can download it. There's some pretty interesting insights, I think, especially when we compared various data sets. So large companies, small companies, technology firms, manufacturing firms. There's definitely varying degrees of adoption, but not as varying as you would think. And we also mentioned it. There are various classes right now. Our next live in person, also with Dean. Dean, you're everywhere. Is going to be in Chicago later in August. So that's going to be an exciting in-person training with optimal product management. Our optimal product management course actually includes AI across the product management process. So if you're interested and you said, I don't know where to start, this is actually a really good place to start because it teaches you the foundational product management skills, everything I kind of talked about today. And it also already incorporates how AI can really help you be a better product manager right in the class. And our next webinar is going to be the portfolio scorecard. Hey, look, there's David, David Nash. Is joining us with Roger, and he's going to be presenting from all of his wealth of experience managing various enterprise products and product portfolios, how to actually make decisions and prioritize what matters when you're dealing with just more than one product, which I think a lot of us have to deal with all the time.
These are the remainder upcoming courses. We do a mixture. You know, one, we're a global, everyone's connected everywhere. So for that reason, we're live online. You can meet us in person, and we do have these courses live online on Eastern time zone, Western time zone, and we welcome you to participate and join. You get to connect with other product people, and there's just so much learning, both in person and virtual.
And if anybody's in Austin, next one is going to be in December here locally.
Oh yeah, and
Awesome.
then yeah, we and also that means usually that Rena and I drop in to say hello, so there is that benefit.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. And please connect with both Cynthia and I on LinkedIn. And if you enjoyed the webinar or you didn't, we'd love to hear from you. But thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Bye, everyone.